Fair enough. Issue number 3. The economy of Barbados. And I want to say a few things tonight about this issue of the economy. I think the rain is falling, so you may have to come under the tent, as people say. But you know they say in biblical times, draw closer and come under the tent. So we have this situation of the economy. And the Democratic Labour Party came into office at one of the worst times, if not the worst time, that any government or party could hope to come to office. A situation in which the global economy was in complete upheaval. People losing value on their companies, losing jobs by the tens of thousands, the millions across the world. Tourists not being able to travel. Investors not being able to invest. And you know the first thing that we did when we came into office? The first thing the Democratic Labour Party did was to give a salaries and wages increase to public servants in Barbados so that they could weather the difficult storm of what we knew was going to be a prolonged recession. We increased pensions, we increased the reverse tax credit and accelerated the increase straight to $1,300. So anybody earning under $16,000 a year could claim back the $1,300 in reverse tax credit. We also implemented the 20-year transfer of housing units program that has eliminated close to 2,000 families in Barbados from paying rent to the NHC for the rest of their lives. Eliminated. We instituted, as you heard, free bus fares, not only for the economic relief of the poor in this country, but also to deal with a potential security threat and the known manipulation of school children in Barbados by unscrupulous characters. We had to bring an end to that. And in addition to that, we went about trying to tackle the insidious problem in Barbados, where people were walking all over the country like nomads, with no home, no house, no bed to sleep in at night. When under the Barbados Labour Party, and I continue to make this point, even though things were wonderful, according to them, even though they had $2.7 billion in reserves, they could not use a cent of those reserves. Not a cent. They're saying to us, we have $1.4 billion which we've been able to maintain throughout the course of this very virulent recession. They're saying to us, spend that to give people money to go downtown to get a hairdo and get the nails painted and get a pedicure and a couple panties and something else, all of which people have to have. But you can't use foreign exchange to do that. But they never took up the foreign exchange, the $2.7 billion they claimed they had, to build houses for ordinary Barbadians to be able to have somewhere to call home when the night come and when the day break open. Created a veritable underclass of persons renting rooms in this country and living in communal conditions worse, as bad as, or perhaps in some instances worse, than in the 1930s when they had riots in Barbados. And yet, this crown of thorns is now to be placed not like a garland, but like a crown on top of the heads of the Democratic Labour Party, because we have stood by the people, because we have protected public servants' jobs, because we have paid them salaries and have been abused by Maskell and Arthur and Motley and the whole crowd of them, as though we were committing a crime when we paid public servants their salaries, that we kept them employed. And I heard the same Maskell on the radio saying that we should reduce the deficit. Now listen to the logic. Listen to the logic. They are saying reduce the deficit. But how do you reduce a deficit? By creating it. So he's saying on the one hand, we have to manage the public finances better. You have to reduce your deficit. They're not telling you how to reduce it, because you can't cut debt because you got to pay the debt. You can't cut salaries and wages and pensions because you got to pay that. If government cuts too much goods and services, the country will shut down. But the only thing left to do is to make substantial cuts in subsidies and transfers, because that is the other major category of public expenditure in Barbados. And statute and the subsidies and transfers go to statutory entities like Transport Board, like sanitation, like the hospital, and of that amount, more than 70% is spent on wages, salaries, or benefits like pensions or something of the sort. So if you cut that, it means send home people, which is what they really secretly are planning to do. So when you see their motto or their whatever you call it, slogan, about rescue, restore, and rebuild, they have left off the final word. It is rescue, restore, rebuild, and retrench. That is exactly what they are intending to do. So you have a choice between a party with a record of protecting jobs and a party waiting in the wings to cut and cut and cut. Because you're saying to me, reduce my deficit, but you're going to give away tax. You're going to give all these tax giveaways. You're going to put back the VAT to 15%, put back the allowances, cut this tax, cut that tax. And nobody in the Labour Party can tell you how they are going to pay for it. But I will tell you tonight, as I will say throughout this country in the coming weeks, it will be paid for by your job. Understand that? Tonight, they are the party of retrenchment.